Joe Kleen, Southern Hospitality, February 15th, 1990, 171. Ragbri, eh? Ron asked. Are you cyclists, partiers, or both? He chuckled. Definitely more the former than the latter, Joe replies. It was amazing to see, or should I say hear, some folks stumbling into their tents in the wee hours and then hear others banging around at the first hint of twilight to make an early start of it. Sheesh, talk about dichotomy. Yes, Ron says, nodding, the heat can be oppressive. You learn that if being out of the sun before 3 is important, then you'd better get an early start. I used to coach cross country, and even for youngsters, heat can be a problem. As we age, it starts to catch up with us. Ron rode with his brother all the way from Cedar Rapids to Hartford in the fall of '76, same year that Ragbri got started, didn't you? Yep, self-contained. A lot of people took up cycle touring that year. Quite the trip. Hartford, Justin asked. That's where Joe and I hung, and the big lug behind us grew up. Misty grew up in Brewster, just the other side of the border from Danbury. Brewster, eh? Ron asked. Larry and I headed north to Canada and never dipped that far south. Crossed the Hudson at Poughkeepsie. You guys do Ragbri self-contained? No, Joe says, shaking his head. Not Ragbri. Misty hooked us up with a company that transported our bike from Gutenberg to the start and then transported our tent and luggage from town to town. They even had a cooler of cold beer, 25 cents a can. Did you say bike is in singular? Ron asked. Tandem? Yep, Joe replies, nodding. Socialism on wheels. From and to each according to ability and need. It was great. Here Joe pauses. Except at the coast. Tandems don't climb well, but they do guarantee that we won't get separated. Not a marriage wrecker, Misty? Cheryl asks with a titter. Nope, Misty says, shaking her head and smiling. We've done a little touring on singles, and the tandem worked much better, at least most of the time. See, Cheryl, Ron says, gently slapping her bicep, we should try a tandem. Yes, dear, Cheryl says, shaking her head. Try being the operative word. Maybe we can rent one for a week, and then we'll see. But it has to be a good one, Joe says now. Before I bought our Santana, we test rode a Jeton. The thing was so whippy, I was scared to leave the parking lot. Scared you, Misty, because I tried being on the back of one of those cheap ones. I almost jumped off. Santana works well, though. And no fighting about getting left behind or going too fast or too slow, Joe says, nodding. Well, that would work for you. You're both tall, Cheryl says. What about Ron and me? He's a foot taller than I am. Not a problem if you get a good one, Joe assures. Santana makes a bunch of sizes to accommodate near every configuration, so long as we don't want to make a Lilliputian captain and put a Bradabingan as stoker. We got the Elan, which only costs an arm, so we got to keep all of our legs, which comes in handy when cycling. A dealer in Cedar Rapids has a Cannondale tandem they built up. I'm trying to get Cheryl talked into a test ride. Wrong size, of course, but we could order one. Just takes a deposit, Ron adds with a wink. Trek keeps saying they're going to get into the market too, Joe says with a shrug, but they sure aren't in the 1990 catalog. We've kind of got our eyes on a Cannondale too, don't we, honey? We? No. You? You keep talking about it, but I think one tandem per couple is sufficient. Spoil sport, Joe says, squeezing Misty's hand. Guess she doesn't know about N+1, does she? Ron whispers.